Hi students, in this video I'm going to continue my discussion of connotation and your client and brand. So in the last video I talked about visual and verbal connotation, and I talked to you about how words have connotation and visuals have connotations. You know, shapes, colors, type choices have connotations. This week you will look at how you synthesize visuals and words for a brand. So the next step in your process is to figure out what words and visuals are going to help achieve your strategy or your message. How do we do that? In this video, that's what I'm going to talk about. So we've talked about previously that brands are about relationships and personality, and you defined your brand personality in your strategy statement. You created a persona, and then you created a message that promised something to that persona. It promised some kind of brand relationship with the persona. You know, buy Tom's shoes and you'll be doing something good. So what's the personality of Tom's? You know, friendly, philanthropic, interested in charity, interested in doing good, purposeful. And what is the message in which something is promised to the persona? Buy Tom's, buy into this personality and what we do, and you'll be doing something good. Now, why are we talking about stories now? I think it's important to remember as you design a content strategy that stories can establish personality, clarify your brand relationship, and communicate messages and information. So just as visuals and verbals communicate a message, stories give messages as well. In fact, stories are all around us. They're one of the most prolific ways of sharing information, of sharing messages. When you were a kid, your parents probably told you stories in order to teach you things. I know when I was a kid, my mom used to tell us the story about how the drummer of Def Leppard got his arm ripped off when he stuck it out of the car window, which is not true, but she would tell us that so we wouldn't put our dang hands out the car window when we were little kids. And it worked. By hearing a story about it, it scared us straight and we didn't stick our hands out the window. So you probably have similar stories, stories your parents told you to teach you things. Stories teach us. Stories help us bring together the past and the future to understand who we are. They give us structures for working towards our goals. They give us a sense of identity. If someone asks you, tell me a little bit about yourself, it's a lot of times easier to express yourself in a story. And most importantly, they can integrate the feelings of our right brain with the language of our left. So sometimes we have trouble explaining what we mean, explaining our feelings, and stories can help us express that. So stories can be really important for a brand because you can express a lot of your messaging, you can express a lot of your brand personality in a story. So different visual styles can help tell different stories, and words obviously tell story differently. So after you think about the story of your brand, words and visuals should be chosen to support and tell that story. After determining the personality of your brand, words and visuals should be chosen to support that personality. After determining the message of your brand, words and visuals should be chosen to support and tell that message. And really, in those three sentences, visuals and words that you're choosing are the same. The visuals and words you choose should tell your story, your personality, and your message. So let's look at an example. Let's take a look at how Apple uses story and how their story translates into their visuals and their words that they use in their content. So let's take a quick look at the history of Apple. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak dropped out of college. Wozniak started making computers that could make free long-distance phone calls. In the early days of computing, a lot of programmers were interested in using the phone system. In fact, there's an interesting documentary out there. I think it's called Phone Freaks or Phone Freaking. Hackers back in the day used to hack the phone lines to make free long-distance calls. And it's super fascinating if you're into technology. And so Wozniak started making computers that could make free long-distance calls, among other things. But people started noticing him because of these kinds of things. And Jobs started finding ways to sell Wozniak's work. Woz is often called the Woz, or Woz. So I've abbreviated it to Woz here. And so Jobs saw what Wozniak was doing, and he said, there's got to be a market for this. Woz was giving this stuff away, and so Jobs was like, there's got to be someone who will pay for this. So he started trying to find ways to sell these new computer things that Wozniak was making. And so they worked out of a garage. Sometimes they sold their stuff to finance the business. And Jobs was pretty interested in counterculture, which I'm not sure if that's super well known today, but a lot of this computing stuff came out of counterculture. I mean, if you're hacking the phone lines to make free long distance calls, you could probably consider yourself part of the counterculture movement. And, a quick aside, if you've ever seen Steve Jobs' commencement speech, I forget what university it's from, but you can find it online. He says these words, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." And a lot of people attribute those words to Steve Jobs. You've probably heard it, and when you hear that, you probably think of Jobs, but "Stay hungry, stay foolish" is actually the tagline for an old magazine called The Whole Earth Catalog, which a lot of people consider the Google of the 70s. Very interesting. You can actually Google it if you're interested, but it's a counterculture magazine, and that's where that saying comes from, and Jobs was quoting it in that commencement speech. Anyway, back to Apple. So the brand story that you sort of think of when you think of Apple is that it was created by these really creative and risk-taking geniuses, right? Apple basically invented the future. They designed these elegant and easy-to-use solutions that push technology, the world, and you forward. So when you think of iPhone, you think of revolutionary, right? I mean, really, is the iPhone that revolutionary? I think it's really debatable. It's a phone with text messaging and internet access, but that kind of stuff existed before. iPhone just sort of took everything everyone else was doing it and put it in one place in a really good design. But that's not really what actually happened. Is not important. What people think happened, what the story is what sells Apple. So this idea that Apple sort of invented the future, you know, every time they made a product, it was the latest and greatest, and it moved innovation forward. And when you buy an Apple product, you get to be a part of that. You're moving forward with Apple. So you can sort of shorten that to genius cool guys invent the future, and you get to be a part of it. So the story is genius cool guys invent the future, and the promise is you get to be a part of it. You can shorten it even, smaller. Innovators think outside the box to change the world over and over. All different ways of thinking of the same story, just different wording. So let's look at Apple's brand personality. The personality you might think of as innovative, rebellious, sophisticated, forward-thinking, game-changing, empowering, revolutionary, human-focused, right? Their designs are human-focused and easy to use. Genius, individuality, minimalistic, and creative freedom. And what is their relationship? Well, Apple products give you creative freedom. Apple products help you be cutting edge. Apple products help you connect with people. Sort of sum this all up, live better, express yourself, right? Buy an Apple product, have a better life, express yourself better. Be cool. So that's the brand relationship. And how do they express that in campaigns? Let's look at some of the wording that Apple has used over their history. One of their early campaigns, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. So you already see that personality. Simplicity, sophistication. Early 1980s, their campaign, soon there will be two kinds of people, those who use computers and those who use Apples. Again, that's their personality and their brand relationship. Get an Apple, set yourself apart, be better. After that, the computer for the rest of us, so same idea, set yourself apart. That's the brand promise of the brand relationship. Buy an Apple and we'll help you be a better you and set yourself apart and be forward thinking and be part of the future. The power to be your best, think different, and then the newest, designed by Apple in California. So let's take a closer look at a couple of these. Let's look at think different. This is well known and very much discussed as one of the greatest campaigns of modern times. This was the slogan for Apple from 1997 to 2002. Now let's look at the words. Let's look at the connotations. Think different. What does that really mean? Think indicates smartness, being smart, having individuality, forward thinking. Different is innovative, rebellious, Forward thinking, again, it stresses individuality. And the period is important. The period is part of this slogan. The period indicates that it's minimalistic and simple. Think different, that's all you need. It's not hard. Think different, be different, buy Apple. You don't really have to think about it. If you're a smart person, you buy Apple. Don't think much more than that. I'm going to play a video from the Think Different campaign, and I want you to listen for these personality words. So we talked about what is the Apple personality. Genius, forward-thinking, rebellious, innovative. So I want you to listen to these words in this ad. Change, genius, rebel, forward.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them. Because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Okay, so you heard a lot of the brand words. Change, genius, rebel, forward, forward thinking. Let's look at the visuals. What's the visual connotation? And these are some of the print posters, print designs that went along with this Think Different campaign. Well, they're black and white. They're headshots, which shows individuality. These are strong characters, so strong that you just need to see their face to know who they are and how important they are. They don't need props. I mean, Kermit's in there, but I think even without him, you would know who Jim Henson is. They don't need an explanation of who they are. They don't need a paragraph that says, this is Jim Henson. They're so iconic, so different and special that you know who they are. And then you have the rainbow logo up in the corner, which again shows individuality. This idea that you are, you can kind of choose what color of the rainbow you are, that no one's going to put you in a box. You can be colorful and choose what color you are, what color represents you. And then black and white sort of shows the genius, the iconicness of these people. So Apple, Think Different, a good example of how the words think different and the visuals express the brand story, the brand personality, and the brand relationship and message. So let's move on and take a closer look at The Computer for the Rest of Us from 1984. Again, this is a very famous ad also from the Super Bowl from 1984, but let's take a look at this commercial. While it's loading, what I want you to do while this video plays is look at the visuals that express the brand personality and the brand messaging and the brand story, and then listen for the words that do the same.
Today we celebrate the first glorious anniversary of the information purification directives. We have created, for the first time in all history, a garden of pure ideology, where each worker may bloom, secure from the pests of any contradictory thoughts. Unification of thoughts is more powerful a weapon than any fleet or army on earth. We are one people. One will, one resolve, one cause. Our land. They shall talk themselves to death, and we will bury them with their own confusion. We shall prevail.
On January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh. And you'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984.
So in that ad, what are the visual connotations? Well, as I talked about in the first video and in the last example, visuals have a connotation from their shape, you know, the type that's used, from the color, from the texture. And so in this video, you have color. You have drab, gray, awful color. And then the woman who represents Apple is very colorful. She's the only character in the whole video with a human skin tone. So color provides connotation. Shape, in visuals, in designs you'd have shapes, but if we're talking about people, you can kind of look at some of the shapes that make this person up. She has kind of fluffy, flowing hair, while everyone else has a shaved, bald head. So the shape there is like this, you have this industrialized, bald, round head versus the wispy hair. You've got texture. The textures of the people who are meant to be non-Apple users in this, the people who haven't yet tapped into Apple. The texture is very grimy and flat, and then the texture of the woman is very vibrant. She's an athlete, she's running. So you have this contrast between not good, which is not Apple, and then good, which is the woman representing Apple, putting a stop to this and changing the future, which is, again, that brand personality, changing the future. It's that brand story, changing the future. Brand message, changing the future. So at the same time, there were print ads introducing Macintosh for the rest of us. This is sort of a very iconic image of one of the early Mac computers. If you look at this ad, what is the visual connotation? Let's look at color. Color, very sleek, very modern. The background is so white, it's reflecting the computer. So not a lot of distracting colors. Texture, shiny, glossy, that equates to high class, right? Type, the type is, has a little bit of character to it. The words are very close. The hello on the screen is a piece of type with a lot of character. This is a human handwriting piece of type on a computer. How crazy is that? Back when this came out, that was like revolutionary. It's a computer that has a human quality. That was amazing at the time. So you had the connotation of the type mixed with the color and the texture and the shapes. It's giving this positive affectivity that sends a message that Apple is, personable, modern, sleek, expensive, elite, everything the brand personality is supposed to be. And then just labeled here, you have the human-centered type, you have this human-centered photo. They're actually showing a photo of the people who made this computer, which shows individuality. The hello, having the computer say hello makes the computer have a sense of individuality as well, just like the brand personality is supposed to have. And then it's minimalistic, which also is part of the brand personality. Just to keep going, I'm not going to show these videos, but you'll probably remember the Mac and PC commercials, in which Mac and PC were represented as people. An excellent way to show personality, right? Because the Mac personality was really cool. If we go back to the personality for Apple, in those commercials, Mac was innovative, sophisticated, a little bit rebellious, right? Didn't dress nice like the PC. Forward thinking, empowering. He was always trying to help PC be better. Human focused. He looked very relatable. Individuality. The Mac in those commercials, the guy playing Mac had sort of a hipster vibe a little bit. Minimalistic, the background in those commercials was white, and even though Mac, the person playing Mac, was very individual, he was also minimalistic. I mean, he didn't have like lots of jewelry and like spiked hair or anything like that. And creative freedom, he was always talking about making things with a Mac. Now, some of you may have seen the winter advertising for Apple. Today, if you look at their site, it's probably not there anymore, but when it was up, just by putting happy holidays, you know, instead of saying buy a Mac on their page, it says happy holidays, and that goes back to the human-centered nature of the personality of the brand. And if we look on their site, every product has a slogan that goes along with the brand personality. So the power of lightness, you know, powerful, forward thinking because it's so light, minimal, forward thinking for the iPhone 5. Those are words that they've used over and over and over again in their messaging. For the colorful, again, that speaks to individuality. Think different because you're individual. For the colorful, because you're an individual. Small wonder over here, again, revolutionary, game-changing. So throughout the life of Apple, all of the words and visuals that they've used have always supported that brand personality and the promise of that relationship with Apple. You know, we're forward-thinking, buy us, and you're forward-thinking too. You know, you're an individual, buy our product and be an individual. Show everyone you're an individual. I'm not going to play these commercials. They're kind of long, and I feel like I've been talking at you for a long time. But most Apple product ads today focus on people. So in this shot from this video, the person is using an iPad, but they're using it to communicate with other people. Actually, let's go ahead and watch it real. It's not too long. But notice how much emphasis is placed on
what is iPad?
People.
iPad is thin. iPad is beautiful.
Oops.
iPad goes anywhere and lasts all day. There's no right way or wrong way. It's crazy powerful. It's magical. You already know how to use it. It's 200,000 apps and counting. All the world's websites in your hands. It's video, photos, more books than you could read in a lifetime. It's already a revolution, and it's only just begun.
So in most of those shots, we see people connecting with other people through the iPad. Very few of the shots are of someone doing something they would do by themselves. It's a person looking at a photo of their daughter, or people using the iPad at a meeting, or in this shot, someone looking at Facebook to connect with their friends. So it's very people-focused. Really quick, let's look at the visual connotation of their logo. So what gives connotation? Color, shape, texture, type. So this logo, what are the colors, shapes, and textures? Well, we can look at some historically and sort of see how it's changed, but this is what it is now. Color, it's usually a rainbow or white or black, so simple, which goes to the brand personality of minimalistic. Shape, round, curved edges, right? Just like all their products also have round, curved edges. And that gives the connotation of something organic, of something that's pleasant. Texture, throughout history, the texture has a lot of times matched whatever the dominant technology is. So you have this glossy glass texture right now because a lot of Apple products have touch screens that are glass. Let's move on to another example, Tom's shoes. What's the story of Tom's shoes? Well, you can read about it here, but basically in general, Blake Mycoskie traveled to Argentina, discovered that children there who he's becoming friends with didn't have shoes, wants to make a difference, right? So that's the background, that's the story. How do we sort of turn that into a personality, into a brand promise? Well, the story becomes a movement. So it's not just that Blake wants to help people, but that he has made a movement and you can become part of it and you can help him help people. So what's the brand personality? philanthropic, global, thinking about people in other countries, a force for good, you hear them say a lot, hopeful, idealistic, approachable, young, hip, passionate, stylish. What's the relationship that they promise? Buy our shoes, we'll help you help others. Buy our shoes, you're a good person, we'll help you be that good person that we all know you are inside, right? Let's look at their website. You'll see some words used over and over again. Global, mission, good, meaning, ideals, changing lives. These definitely support the story of Tom's and the personality of Tom's and the messaging of Tom's. Let's look at the visuals. You have the Argentinian flag is the basis for the logo, showing that they're global. It's a flag showing that they're cause-based. There's handwriting on the site, which shows that they're friendly, hip, approachable. They show the products, showing that they're stylish. They show a picture down here of an image that is taken on a beach. So it makes you think of travel and being global. You have this picture of a stylish woman. So again, the visuals are showing the connotation needed to support the personality. The type is hip, personable. The colors, hip, personable. The textures, same. The shapes, you're using the flag shape, you're using the shape of the shoes to show that you're stylish. And then here's a screenshot of one of their pages that I really think hammers in the importance of choosing a few words and using them over and over again. Look at how many times the word giving, change, and transforming is used on this page. Giving is used 7 times on this one page. I'm sorry, 8 times. The word giving is on this page 8 times. Change is on this page twice. No, 3 times. Change is on this page 3 times. Transforming is on this page once. So they're really using the same words over and over again. So they're using the same visuals that show globalness, that show philanthropy, that show style, and then words, giving, change, transforming, just hammering them into your head on this page. There are not that many words on this page. Most of the words on this page that you see really big that draw your attention are change, giving, transforming. So for homework, you're going to craft the visual and verbal brand by selecting visuals to sort of base yours off of. So you're going to go on a hunt for shapes, colors, type treatments, and texture that you think give the connotation your brand personality, story, and message require. And then you're going to select words that should be associated with your brand on your blog. Just like Tom's Shoes has selected giving, transforming, and change, you're going to select some words that should be associated. So this week, you're looking for shapes, color, type, and texture that you think give the connotation you need. And you're looking for a few words that should be used over and over again that also give the connotation you need in order to express your brand personality, story, and message. As always, if you have any questions, please send them my way, and I look forward to seeing the visuals and the verbals that you come up with this week.